Ford Motor Company is going to take a nearly $20 billion loss, mostly tied to its electric vehicle business. Joining us to discuss is Lauren Fix, automotive expert at Car Coach Reports. Lauren, good to see you. It's been a while since we spoke. I did speak to Paul a couple of weeks ago. He had some great comments to say.
I'm great. There's a lot going on in the automotive world right now, and I think people don't realize it because they're so busy with the holiday season. But one of the big things that's happening is not just Ford, but just the shift in what consumers want. Brands are finally listening, and that's a good thing.
So, Ford killing several electric vehicle models. Why do you think the company is doing this? Is it weakening EV demand or because of policies of this administration?
It's all of the above. I think they jumped on that EV bandwagon. They all jumped on that horse saying, I'm not going to push back against the government. We're going to take whatever regulations they push on us, even though they have lobbyists and everything. They agreed to go ahead and do that because there was going to be a $7,500 tax credit. That tax credit is gone. The charging infrastructure, if you want to put a charger in your garage, was $1,200. That goes away on the 31st. So once that's gone, consumers are going to pay for whatever it is they want. Just like if you wanted a gasoline-powered vehicle or a hybrid vehicle, you just go and buy it. But when they realized that they made these F-150 Lightning trucks that are all electric, they thought they were going to sell like hotcakes. They soon realized that vehicles between $50,000 and $80,000, no matter where they're built, are way outside the average person's price range. Remember, the average price of a vehicle today is about $50,000, where previous to COVID, it was $34,000. So with that huge increase, it's untouchable for many people. The cost of everything has gotten more expensive, although some things like eggs and gasoline have gotten less expensive. Electricity has gotten more expensive. So buying an EV is not the wisest choice, especially with the increase in insurance.
So you said Ford thought the F-150 Lightning will be selling like hotcakes. It's actually one of the cars that the car maker is eliminating. So I'm wondering if you could do a comparison for us. In terms of sales, how did the EV version of this pickup truck compare to the non-EV version? And just overall, how does electric compare to gas-powered?
Okay, there's a lot to that. So first off, it's hard to do a fair even up comparison because there was a tax credit involved, which was an incentive to get consumers to go and buy these vehicles. There was also a push for dealers to buy these vehicles and park them on their lots, which many are still sitting around. Drive by any dealer from any brand, anything that's an electric car is sitting there and not selling as well. Even Tesla's down in sales. So part of that is the infrastructure, the charging, the cost of electricity, the higher insurance rates, the infrastructure itself, depending on where you live, it's hard to get a charging. And I just had a Nissan Leaf just last week to test drive, and I'll post my review on my Car Smarts channel. But I'll tell you, getting a charge, even at a Tesla charger, some didn't allow it unless it was a Tesla product. Others, I had to wait in line in order to charge. So I basically got home and plugged it in the wall, and it took 2 days to get a full charge. And it's not the fault of the vehicle. It's the fault of the charging. Now, we'll see what my electric bill looks like when it comes back, but I know it's going to be higher because I don't own an electric vehicle. And consumers are finding themselves that if they don't own a garage, and believe it or not, only 60% of America owns a garage. So you think, well, what if you have a condo? That doesn't necessarily mean you have a garage, or you're renting. That doesn't mean you have a garage or could put a charging station in. And so all of these are just limitations. And Americans as a whole don't like to be limited in how far they can go. And including how long it takes to charge. And to give you an idea, the vehicles that I get come from New York City, and I live in Buffalo. And the usual time to drive, that's about 5 hours. Every driver that has brought an electric vehicle to me, I ask, how long does it take? And they say twice as long. So if you're willing to drive 10 hours instead of 5 hours, how does that make you want to buy that vehicle? It doesn't. And so consumers have made the statement. Ford has woken up to it. Almost every brand has switched back to saying, you know what, including Scout, which is a brand new product that's coming out from Volkswagen, has said we're going to offer what they call an E-Rev, which is an extended range. There'll be a gasoline motor combined with an electric motor, and for consumers, that just means a hybrid application. That's what consumers want. They want to be able to go wherever they want, and if they want to plug in and sit in at a parking lot or at a drive-through or wait for your kids to come out of school, you can at 0 miles to the gallon because you're on electricity. And that's a really good combination for consumers, especially if you're leasing.
So you said that Ford has woken up to this. I'm just wondering here, because Ford's decision does not happen in a vacuum, right? We have Chinese electric car makers fully in the market. So I'm thinking in that aspect, what is the impact for Ford? Does this move at all concede some ground to Chinese EV makers?
Well, that not really, because where we are sitting on here in the United States on the largest oil underneath the ground, and in the case of China, they decided in advance we can't beat America, we can't beat Germany in building cars. So what they decided to do was create this EV story that this was better for the environment. But before they did that, they purchased 80 to 90% of the mines that are out there. And so therefore they can say if you want an electric vehicle, you need a battery, you have to get it from China so that they would control the auto industry. They do subsidize every single car brand that is made in China, and many countries are allowing Chinese vehicles to come in. That will not happen in Canada, where there's a 100% tariff, and there's no way they're going to bring Chinese cars into the United States, at least under this administration. And if they did, it would destroy our auto industry for every brand. Remember that a lot of the Japanese brands sell most of their vehicles here. The Koreans sell their vehicles here. They build them here. If the Chinese wanted to do that, they'd have to build here, which means the UAW would be standing in line saying, we need to unionize you also. And that would make those cars a very average price to everything that's out there. So what they do in other countries like Germany, and it has destroyed their auto industry, is they flood the market with low price cars, essentially half the price. So how do they stay in business? Well, their federal government, the Chinese government, subsidizes to the car brands. And so therefore, why a car that might be $40,000, they'll sell it for 20, and then so how does the car maker stay in business? They just take Chinese government funds. That doesn't work in a global basis. It's not a fair market. And what it does is it allows consumers to think they're getting a deal, but really what they're doing is destroying their own economy. China doesn't care. Their goal is to own the auto industry. And if they ever get a chance to start selling in the US and into North America, that's probably what will happen, is it will see a lot of companies go away, and that's really bad. And currently the EU, by the way, has said just yesterday that they're going to reduce their all EV mandate. And so that's also going to hurt China, because if it's all EV, which doesn't make sense in cold climates like Norway and Germany, I mean, it gets really cold, much like the upper half of this country and into Canada. It doesn't make sense to have an EV. And so consumers are choosing to buy used gasoline powered cars, and you're watching a resurgence of gasoline powered vehicles.
Right. I mean, just look at your phone. Your phone battery in cold temperatures
Yes.
reduces by, I don't know, like a significant, it feels like a significant percentage. So I just have one more question on my mind here. Can you talk to us about the rate of EV adoption in the US? What does that look like? Has it slowed since the start of this administration?
Absolutely, 100%. You had the Congressional Review Act where President Trump signed on July 4th that took away all of the mandates that it said you had to go all electric. So that's out the door. EPA leader Lee Zeldin went in and has removed all the powers from California. Some are still in courts right now. Some are in the Supreme Court. Once that goes through, California will no longer have the California Resources Board, which has been one state calling the rules for the other 49, which is obviously not constitutional. But what we're also seeing is all of these undoing of everything, including the auto pen. Huge story. I have that on my Car Coach Reports channel. What has happened when President Trump said anything that was signed by an auto pen doesn't exist any longer. Now, how that will hold up in court, we're soon to find out. But right now, that means that all of the mandates for electric vehicles, all of the infrastructure is gone. And this is a huge story, because what we're happening now without that $7,500 tax credit, we're most likely going to see about 4% of the cars sold being electric. So if you want an electric car, there are fantastic choices from every automaker. But many automakers like Honda have said, we're not going to make the Prologue anymore. General Motors is still making the Cadillac line mostly electric, but Ford has woken up and said, nope, that's not going to work. Stellantis has also said with their new leadership, they need to sell vehicles. They're building more gasoline and hybrid vehicles, so big changes there as well. The Koreans are still selling whatever consumers want. If you want one of their Ioniq products, they'll sell it too. If you don't, they'll just make something else. And so it depends on each car brand's business plan, but many of them have woken up to this a long time ago and were prepared. Toyota was one of the smartest. They didn't jump on the bandwagon. They still offer the Prius if you want it, but they also offer all hybrid vehicles across their lineup.
Well, all right, Lawrence. It's good to talk to you. Good to see you again. And I encourage our viewers to take a look at your article that you mentioned in this interview. Thank you.
Thank you. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee, and if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.